It's not like when you're in a car. It's not even like being on a dirt bike, because you just never know if somebody's going to hit you or pull out in front of you. And dealing with all that while on a bike like this, it was scary. Not gonna lie.
Follow white rabbit. I'm taking potions, call me Alice. Watch me grow taller. Yeah, rabbit's watches in his pocket. Yeah, he stays late.
Hello guys, and maybe some girls out there. Today I'm going to go over the differences between what would make a good beginner bike and what makes a bad beginner bike, what to look for in my experience. I always try to learn from others' mistakes, so it's good to hear the experience of other people. I know a lot of people on YouTube have made videos similar to this, but I just wanted to put in my 2 cents. The big thing that a lot of people immediately jump to speaking of or thinking about is the power. And as far as power goes, there is a big difference. I mean, a bike like this is a Ninja 650. You jump up to a bike like this, an R6, you're looking at about double the horsepower. And that confuses a lot of people, because how could a 650 be slower than a 600? It's a common misconception that the motor size determines how fast a bike is, but that's not the case. Think about with cars. You could have a 4-cylinder car with 200 horsepower, or you could have a 4-cylinder car with 110 horsepower. That's not the point. But besides that factor, these bikes have different motors. This bike has 2 cylinders, okay, whereas this bike's an inline 4. And now the Ducati has 2 cylinders also, and it's a 959, but that would be more equivalent to, say, an inline 4 750. So that really, don't dwell on the cubic centimeters of the motor. That's not really a strong determining factor. However, there are a lot of typical bikes you'll find, like Japanese 600s. Okay, they all are powerful for the most part, especially newer ones. I mean, you're looking at bikes with decent amount over 100 horsepower, and for example, this R6 revs to over 16,000, and the reason that I don't think a bike like this is good for a beginner, power-wise, is because you could putt around on this bike all day. You never even realize that it's quick. But once you get up over 8,000 RPMs, that's when it starts to pick up. So a lot of people, they'll hop on a 600. I mean, you could be fine if you just putt around everywhere you go on one of these bikes. Then you could be fine. But the problem is that doesn't happen. The other problem is, okay, say for example, you're not used to throttle control, alright? Let's say you've never rode dirt bikes or anything. You go and you hit a pothole and your hand jerks. Okay, that's a lot of power coming through bikes like these. Whereas a bike like the 650 is going to be a lot more forgiving. Now, with that out of the way, power really isn't even isn't even the main factor that I really want to talk about. I mean, everybody knows, yeah, a 600 is very powerful, okay? A 1000, very powerful bikes. Start on a 400, yada yada. Same thing, everybody says that. But there's a lot more to it than that. I'm going to start by talking about the brakes. Now, you get on a bike like this, you got some play, you know? And I mean, I'm not saying that there's not play in these bikes over here. I mean, they have a little bit. It's not like as soon as you touch them, you're just going over the bars. But the brakes are a lot more aggressive on bikes like these. I mean, look at the brakes on here, okay? Now, this is a 650, so it does have some power. But then compare that to this. I mean, that's a lot beefier of a brake. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is the seating position. Now, if you know for a fact that you want to get a sport bike, without a doubt, you could go for a bike like the KTM RC390, which has clip-ons, low slung like that, more hunched over, rear sets are a little bit farther back. Or you could get a bike like this, and you could add clip-ons and modify it. But I mean, a sport bike is really committed, okay? Really committed. And the other thing is, you might think that you want a sport bike, okay? And now, I could be wrong. I mean, I was dead set, okay? But I'm getting more into cruisers now, and I have a dual sport also. So, I mean, you never know. You might think that, yeah, you definitely want a sport bike, and then you go and buy an R6, and you realize, oh man, this is so uncomfortable. I really don't think it's a good idea to start on a 600 or a 1000. The other thing is, you know, after riding this 650, I started on a Ninja 250, okay? And then I bought my dual sport, which is a WR 250. But when I first got this Ninja, it was the first quick bike I've ever been on. And it was pretty scary. Not gonna lie, riding around on the road, and when you first start riding, you're dealing with so many things. You're watching other drivers, and I mean, you don't necessarily have to be paranoid, but you need to be very aware. It's not like when you're in a car. It's not even like being on a dirt bike, because you just never know if somebody's going to hit you or pull out in front of you. And dealing with all that while on a bike like this, it was scary. Not gonna lie. And then my brother got the R6 as first super sport I've ever been on, okay? I took it out, riding around just down these back roads back here, and I was thinking to myself, man, this is what all the hype's about? This bike isn't even that fast. I mean, it does not feel that fast, okay? But when I got out onto the freeway and I started to really get on it, you hit that 8,000 RPMs, and I mean, oh my God, it's like being in a car with a massive turbo. All right, it's just like nothing. Oh my God, it comes out of nowhere, and then you're at 8,000, and it keeps picking up more and more. That's the thing. And before you know it, I mean, I would be looking at the tachometer and be like, oh my God, it's still not time to shift yet. it revs so high and it makes so much power at the top end. Because, I mean, it's designed for the racetrack. That's all there is to it. But my point is, you don't want to just skip all of that. You don't want to skip all of that excitement and adrenaline to go straight to a 1000, because then any bike you get after that, it's not going to feel, you're never going to get that feeling back. You know what I mean? Like, you could buy a 1000 and then what? Are you going to buy an H2? I mean, you don't have many options if you want that feeling, that fear back. And same goes for a 600. I mean, you want to have the fundamentals down before you try to hop on a 600, in my opinion. And now there's people that have started on 600s. There's people that have started on 1000s and they're fine. But I would say the vast majority of people aren't really going to see success starting on a big bike like that. And you're worried about so many things. You don't have the time to worry about improving. Like, you're so worried about just controlling the throttle and not hitting the brakes too hard that you never really have time to just improve your overall riding. And if you start on one of these bikes, a 600 or even a 1000, you really most likely are not going to be as good of a rider as somebody who's started on a 400 or started on a 650. I mean, it's just the honest truth. If I would have started on an R6 or my Ducati, I really do not think that I'd be as good of a rider as I am now after riding my 650 and just getting used to turning and just the physics of a motorcycle. But then you hear people say, oh, I've rode dirt bikes. I've rode dirt bikes my whole life. I have a 450 dirt bike. My dirt bike, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it does not matter. It does not matter if you rode dirt bikes, okay? That's what I'm going to tell you. And you might disagree with me, but that's my opinion, and I will never change it. Dirt bikes are a lot different, okay?
Oh man, this one gets me fired up.
Rocks and trees and all of that, alright, they do not merge into you. They do not change lanes. You are worried about so much more when you're on one of these street bikes. But it doesn't even matter at that point either, because you take something like this R6, alright? This will obliterate a 450 dirt bike. Okay? Maybe 0 to 60, they'll be pretty similar. But I mean, you're not ever going to get a dirt bike that's going to have power over 120. I mean, it's just not comparable. That's like saying that you ride go-karts, so you should be good to get a Koenigsegg as your first car. That's same exact thing. That's just one that I'll never understand. So I'm here in my garage, and this is actually my father's Goldwing. I just wanted to bring up another point, okay? This bike is heavy. I mean, as far as Goldwings go, it's actually pretty light, but that's besides the point. The point is, this is a heavy bike, okay? This is a big bike. And, okay, the power might not be as much of a problem on this bike, but, the weight of it is going to be an issue. It really is. I mean, you do not want to be worried about dropping your bike and thinking, oh my God, how am I ever going to pick this up? Or even then, you might not be worried about that because you might not even be thinking about that. But it happens. I mean, to beginners, especially, it happens. You really want to pick a bike that you're going to feel comfortable maneuvering around. I mean, your first bike trying to do tight U-turns and pull in and out of parking spaces and all that. You don't want to pick a big, heavy bike, okay? A lot of the Harleys and the Gold Wing, it's not a good idea. Hey guys, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to check out my video. I appreciate it. If you liked the video, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment. This was my first time editing, so I'll improve as I go and keep putting out good content for you, and I hope I can help somebody. That's really what it's about, and just being passionate about bikes and cars. And I just want to be able to put out good content. So thank you guys. I'd also like to mention that there's a lot of things I didn't talk about. I mean, there's small factors too, like seat height and all kinds of different things when you pick out a first bike. You want to go to the dealership and take a seat on the bike, or even you could buy used. You buy an older bike, you might be able to ride it for a while and sell it for the same, if not more than you got it for, and then go upgrade to something faster. But I didn't get into a lot of that because I watch a lot of other YouTubers and I see a lot of them get into it, so I just wanted to try to do something different. Thanks.